On today's episode of The Intangibles, we'll be kicking things off as always with the play of the game. At 6 minutes and 46 seconds, we'll choose the Hottie of the week and the little bitch of the day. At 18 minutes and 7 seconds, we'll get you caught up on the latest disc golf news. And finally, at 36 minutes, we'll play Birdie, Bogey, or Par.
Good afternoon and welcome everyone to another episode of the Intangibles, the Drop Zone. I still don't really know. I think we're in the Intangibles still if you search for us. So go to the Intangibles and then listen to the Drop Zone.
Intangibles, drop down, drop zone. You're in.
You'll figure it out. We trust you. You're smart. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Kenny and I are back. We've got another lovely episode where we're going to talk quite a bit about disc golf, and we'll see where else the conversation takes us. So,
Indeed.
Yeah, without further adu, Kenny, why don't you lead us off with your nomination for this week's Play of the Game?
My nomination for Play of the Game, it's a long time coming, and it's something I've thought about for a long time. Matt's pointing at himself right now, saying me. No, actually. I am nominating Redgrave, author of The Pale Blood Hunt. So this is a fan-made document about Bloodborne, which we have talked about numerous times on the podcast. It's one of me and Matt's favorite games.
I was going to say, we've talked about personally ad nauseum, probably,
Yes.
for most people.
Yes, definitely. And funnily enough, I mean, we've talked a lot about FromSoft games, but we have not talked much about Bloodborne, which is definitely my favorite From Software game, one of my favorite games, period. And I've been revisiting Bloodborne because, spoilers for something I'm going to discuss later, I'm getting back into the game. I've been playing it again, and so I've been diving back into the lore. And for those who haven't played, who haven't done deep dives into it, The Pale Blood Hunt is a fan-made document. It's like 100 pages, basically, of one person's very deep dive into the lore of Bloodborne, which is very deep and kind of hard to get into, potentially, if you're just diving into it, but also very rewarding. And I love this document. It's just a perfect testament into what the game is. I especially like how they structure it. They have bunches of chapters of like different aspects of the game, and every chapter is divided into these are the facts that we have, and then it goes into, now here's what my speculation is. But you don't have to buy into it, and that's the beautiful thing about it. So I'm rereading this, I'm replaying the game, so I just want to give a shout out to Redgrave. I really like it. I really like this document.
Yeah, I've also read the Pale Blood Hunt, and I mean, if you've played the game before and you were kind of into the lore, it's worth a read. It doesn't take that long, and it really does, like Kenny said, I mean, it presents it in a great way. It shows you everything that is just from the game, and then draws some very reasonable conclusions out of it. So yeah, it is a great game. We really need to dedicate a full episode, I guess, or multiples potentially, to talking about it someday.
So this is your week to take over the podcast. I think next time I want to do, when I'm in charge, we're just going to do maybe a multi-part episode, just really diving into Bloodborne.
Yeah, so we can definitely talk about it a lot. That's great. Yeah. I love it. Well, my play of the game, it's shocking how similar it is. I'm going to give the play of the game to Lin-Manuel Miranda. So, my wife and I and Addie all had COVID within the past, 14, 15 days. And it's probably been a little bit longer than that now. But so during that time, Veronica, she had a work trip. She brought it back. She got us all sick. And because it's COVID, we had to essentially quarantine at home until it had been 10 days from Addie's first symptoms. So the three of us were at home for 14 days straight, just us three. which, was lovely. We had some great time together, but it was also a lot. And between Hamilton, both on the TV and the soundtrack, and the movie Moana, which is a Disney movie, but the soundtrack is written by my boy Lin-Manuel, that helped get us through a lot of time with Baddie. She was able to kind of watch and dance and sing along and have some time where we could relax a little bit. So that's my nomination. Thanks for helping get us through our first COVID experience.
I feel like as much crap as we give Lin-Manuel as a performer, you just can't argue with the man as a songwriter, as a person who makes musicals. Like, Come on.
100%. And it's really funny, we watched it quite a few times, but Addie clearly recognizes so much of the Moana soundtrack now and gets excited and and dances and makes noises to it. So it's catchy stuff, man.
Yeah, I'm wow. Just based on all history, I think I'm going to win this play of the game, my nomination. But I personally would vote for Lin-Manuel as the intangible play of the game.
Put your money where your mouth is and go vote for him then, buddy.
Okay, I'll put my own vote forward for Lin-Manuel.
Perfect. All right, you heard it here, folks. If you see that there are no votes for Lin-Manuel, you'll know he's a liar. All right, well, that was a great start to things. So, moving forward, we're going to talk about both of our nominations for Hottie and Little Bitch of the Week. So, Kenny, why don't you give me your Hottie?
My Hottie / Baddie of the Week. I am staying on track with a Bloodborne theme, and I am nominating Sally Tamarkin for beating the Cleric Beast and just in general being a beast at Bloodborne. So, my friend Sally is starting her very first playthrough of Bloodborne, her first ever Soulsborne game, her first FromSoft game. And she approached me and said, I am interested in these games. They're not my style, but would you be willing to coach me through it? And I said, yes, totally, of course. And because I know Sally likes lore and story, I was like, I think Bloodborne has the best story of all the FromSoft games. It's my favorite. I have a tattoo of it. Let's do it. And Sally jumped in and just is so clearly demonstrated that me, Kenny, I'm bad at these games, and other people that I play with are good at them. Amber is good at these games. Sally is good at these games. She played a few sessions without my help, and then I jumped in and started watching and coaching. She does not use the lock-on hardly ever, which is wild to me, and she doesn't need it. She's just a beast. Just walks around, no lock-on, smashing people, and killed the Cleric Beast on her second attempt.
Nice.
I was playing with a friend, Troy, passing the controller, and I bet it took us 10 to 20 attempts, something like that, between us. Mm-hmm. So, Sally is a monster. Sally is a beast. Definitely the baddie of the week.
Yeah, let me know how she does against the Orphan of Kos, alright?
That'll be a little bit, probably.
No, that's awesome. Good for her. Does she have a lot of experience playing, first-person games like this?
Sally has a lot of varied game experience.
Gotcha.
But nothing like this particular game.
Gotcha. Yeah, well, all the more impressive.
That's what I'm saying. I was watching Sally play it. I was like, Jesus Christ.
I definitely feel like... So I remember when I first played... Bloodborne was the first FromSoft game I played, but...
That's not true. You and I played Sekiro first.
Well, I think we played a little bit of Bloodborne. We hadn't touched it at all, ever?
I don't think so. I think you and I played Sekiro.
And then went backwards. Well,
and then you went home and you're like, I'm going to play Bloodborne, I think.
Regardless, I had never, before I'd played any of that style game, the combat is weird. And I remember playing the Cleric Beast and getting my ass kicked. And it's it's pretty simple once you start to figure out, stay close, dodge to the side, attack and open windows. It starts to make some sense. But if you've never had a fight like that, I don't know. It just seems like the hardest thing in the universe. So, yeah, again.
Even having done it, I think even having done it, when you play a new FromSoft game, you just always get your ass beat. I do anyway.
Yeah, definitely true. Well, again, amazing how we went with almost the exact same thing. My hottie of the week, I'm giving it to my neighbor, Jay. This one's for you, Jay, sexy man. It snowed, I think, last Monday, and it snowed pretty good. And before I could even think about shoveling my driveway, he was out there snow blowing it just because. So he's my hottie for taking care of my driveway for me.
Oh, man. It's a good thing that our dad, Tom, doesn't listen to this, because he came over and hauled out a dead tree from my driveway. But he doesn't listen, so he doesn't get nominated. He's already gotten nominations on this show, so whatever.
Well, you know what, Dad? If you're listening and you come up to my house and you take care of my stuff, you'll definitely be my nomination.
A thing I will never have to worry about.
Basically. All right, Kenny. And now, why don't you tell us who your little bitch is?
So this is going to be a little bit of a catch-up for Little Bitch of the Day. This is like Little Bitch of the Month, since we haven't recorded in a while. My nomination for Little Bitch of the Day / month is Wizards of the Coast / Hasbro. So, we've talked about this. I think on this show we talked about Magic the Gathering offering their 30th anniversary $1,000 booster packs. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the Magic the Gathering side. But their other half of the business is D&D. And they're making their own fuck-ups on the D&D side as well. So have you caught up with any of this OGL nonsense? Okay, you're shaking your head. So let me give you and the audience a very brief rundown of the OGL situation. So D&D, Dungeons & Dragons, a role-playing game, for a long time now has had this open gaming license, OGL, which is basically if you want to publish your own stuff using D&D as a rule set, you can just use this open license to publish your own stuff, and you get to keep the money, and you get to use D&D stuff. Great. Well, D&D is coming out with a new version of the game, and it got leaked that they were changing this open gaming license to make it so that basically, especially if you make a lot of money making your own games, you owe them a sizable portion of the earnings, and they have rights to whatever you publish. And this came out in a leak, so obviously people are very, very mad about this. That's happened. They've retracted it. It's been a whole mess about like figuring out what it's all going to be. You can find out all the nonsense. But the reason I'm nominating them for Little Bitch of the Day is about their apology that they issued a while ago. And I read the apology, and there's a couple particular portions that I was like, ugh, and I cringed. So they said, in this apology, quote, "It was never our intent to impact the vast majority of the community. However, it's clear from the reaction that we rolled a 1. So like they're doing like an in-joke about D&D stuff. And then they went on to say, "You're going to hear people say that they won and we lost because your voices heard forced us to change our plans. Those people will only be half right. They won, and so did we." And I just read this whole thing. It's like, what is happening in this announcement? It's just such nonsense. It's like in-jokes for D&D, and then also this whole announcement of like, don't let anyone tell you that we lost. I don't know. It's just a total L, the entire thing.
So they walked it all the way backwards?
So now, the most recent thing, as of the end of the month, January 2023, they're keeping the original OGL, and they're also inviting people to use Creative Commons, which is great. That's actually better than what existed before. But now people are like, myself included, are like, well, you've kind of shown your hand now, and that behind closed doors, you are trying to screw us over. And you just walked it back because you got such bad press. So, I don't know. People can do whatever they want, and I don't I'm not going to hold it against anybody if they want to continue publishing with D&D, but also this company has shown its hand. It's shown what it wants to do if they can get away with it.
Yeah. I mean, I can almost guarantee that they'll keep trying, right? They'll keep pushing until they find whatever they feel is the acceptable percentage of people to piss off, right? So
exactly. They got pushed back very hard, and they dialed it back a long way, but now...
Which is good. I mean, alternatively, they could have just said, fuck you, and left it the way it was going to be, right? You know?
They could have. I think they made this decision because it was just so in their worst interests. If they had not dialed it back, then it's like, okay, now everyone is mad at you and doesn't want to make games with your system and your rules.
Right.
That's a bad place to be.
Definitely.
Okay, what is your little bitch of the day?
My little bitch of the past 2-ish weeks is Jeffrey Bezos.
Again.
And really, it's... Did I already give the little bitch to Alexa previously?
I think you did. I gave one to Elon, so I believe this is our first straight to Jeffrey.
Well, it's all tied back through Alexa, unfortunately, anyway. Alexa repeatedly failed to listen to just the exact words I was asking her to respond to. And this, again, if this is a duplicate, I'm sorry, everybody, but this is how much this happens in my home, and it's causing me problems. But I'm asking Alexa for simple tasks like play the Moana soundtrack on Spotify. And what does she do? She puts up a recipe for like burrata and toast, or she plays the start a free section of an audiobook that I've never heard of and don't want to hear. I don't remember how many times I had to unplug Alexa from the wall out of frustration and just reset so I could try again. So I'm taking it all the way to the top. Jeff, I know you listen to the podcast. I know you hear my complaints. If you could do something about it, send me a new one maybe, or just send me a lot of money, I'll take it.
Yeah, I will say, if we either get a sponsorship, or if this problem gets addressed, we will revoke Little Bitch of the Day and appoint Jeff to Hottie of the Week. That's right. That gets fixed, or we get a sponsorship.
Right. One of the two. Your call. All right.
We'll take money. We'll take straight cash.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think this is a great opportunity to take a moment and hear from our sponsors.
Oh, let's break it down! Why are you so angry?
All right, and we're back. I wish I had some... This is maybe an opportunity for you and your editing to throw some news desk, starting to be like...
I will do that.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Today, we're going to have a new kind of thing. I'm just calling it the Disc Golf News Desk. And we're going to cover some headlines from the past few weeks. And we're going to give Kenny here kind of an opportunity to talk about some specific professional interaction that I thought was interesting and would love to hear his commentary on. So,
all right. So you give me the rundown on each news piece, and I will respond.
Yep, sounds great. All right. A few weeks ago, it was revealed that Simon was leaving Discmania, but at the time, we did not know where he was going. That has been revealed. Simon is now with MVP, so he's going to be throwing gyro this year. He has a contract that tied for essentially the largest contract in disc golf. It's a 10-year, $10 million contract with a $600,000 signing bonus. MVP also had to buy out Discmania's contract for another $1 million. So they are going all in on Simon. And it seems like he's excited, and there's been some videos of him getting to know his discs. And who knows? This year could be huge for him, or maybe he'll get worse. I'll be very interested to see.
Yeah, you and I were texting back and forth when this deal was in the works and going down, and it was confirmed he was leaving Discmania and going to MVP. and you and I were like, what is this deal worth? And we were both like, it has to be worth so much money. And yes, it is worth so much money. In our last episode, I was talking about, I think, Simon being like, his farewell video to Discmania, where he's like, I'm looking forward to the future, and this is going to push me forward and push me to be more competitive. And you and I are both like, okay, sure, Simon. That's a lot of money, right? There's a lot of zeros on that check. $10 million. Good for Simon. Absolutely good for Simon. And also, in my opinion, good for the game. I'm glad that these companies have the money to splash on these players. It's just going to bring more and more people into the game if they realize, wow, there's that much to go around. I think it's overall a great thing, and Simon is one of my favorite players to watch. Watching his recent YouTube videos as well, it seems like his content they're giving him total free reign to stick with the Simon brand and his own style, that's probably the biggest thing I was worried about. It's like he's going to go to a new manufacturer and they're going to say, here's what you got to do. But no, it's just like the same videos. Like, he was literally in his first MVP video, he was like, what is this disc? It's just very frank and very open, which is good. That's what you want when you get Simon, is like, you're buying that personality. And so it was nice that is still sticking through.
Absolutely, Kenny. It's a huge investment. It's basically going to take him into, retirement age for the sport itself, but as probably the player with the most subscribers on the internet, he's only going to bring more attention to the sport, which is great. DGPT announced that they're going to be streaming seven PDGA Euro Tour events this year, and those events are all going to be Silver Series tournaments. So that is up from one Silver Series event last year. Now there's going to be 7. And Paul Macbeth is actually going to be playing in 6 of those 7 events. He's got an expanded European tour schedule this year, trying to switch things up and get some more exposure in Europe. Kenny, your thoughts?
My thoughts, as a person who loves the sport, the more of the sport there is online and the more attention it gets, the better it is for me. I love it. I wish there was a event I could watch every single week of the year. So the more the merrier as far as I'm concerned. I know there's, as we discussed, some tinfoil hat conspiracy theories about things. I don't give a shit. I like Paul. I like watching disc golf. More disc golf, please, in my mouth.
Yes, and the tinfoil hat theory that Kenny is referencing, a lot of people thought it was a little bit fishy that the PDGA announced that they're expanding this after Paul announced that he is going to be touring and attending all these tournaments. Something important to keep in mind is that all of the professionals on the tour can only keep their top 3 Silver Series events anyway. So even if you play 10 of them, you're gonna keep your top 3, and realistically, they're going to be playing probably as many, if not more, Silver Series events in the U.S. So, really not an advantage for Paul. And, if you think so, we'd love to hear it in the comments.
And also, if anybody in these, if it is an advantage, you will see other players do it. You know what I mean? Like, if it's like, oh, you have to go to Europe to stay competitive, you'll see other players do the same thing or drop out. And that's not a thing that's happening, so...
Yep. Yeah, and we're still 5 months away from these tournaments at least, so people could still plan to go to these if they want to.
It's true.
The 2024 PDGA Pro Worlds is going to be hosted in Lynchburg, Virginia this year for the first time ever. It's going to be hosted on courses New London Tech and Ivy Hill. New London Tech is a wooded course. It's going to be a little more challenging, a little more line-driven, whereas Ivy Hill is capable of hosting up to 4,000 spectators and is going to host 3 of those 5 Worlds rounds.
So it sounds like there's a mix of different types of courses. That's the biggest thing to me, and that's what I like, is that there is a mixture. When you're having a big tournament, we're saying this is Worlds or this is the PDGA tournament or whatever it is, the most important thing is that you're testing a variety of skills. So yeah, I'm down for that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I think generally speaking, we talked about the World's Tournament last year. They do a good job of trying to have those two kind of styles mixed in to make it a bit of a balanced challenge. Obviously, they want that big open course for the final day. They want as many spectators out there as possible. So, yeah, I'm excited. I love seeing new courses, so it'll be fun to watch, hopefully.
There's definitely an element of these tournaments that I personally don't have access to because I've never been to a live event. Where how good is it for spectators? And you're referencing that it sounds like the open course is going to be very good for spectators. So, I mean, that sounds good to me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The Ghana Flying Disc Association has been officially recognized by the Republic of Ghana, meaning that they are now a nationally recognized sport. So, the general outreach within Ghana for disc golf is growing, and they're putting in more courses. And really, I put this in here because, it's a commentary, I guess, on the fact that the sport is growing, even into some places where you may not think it is, and it's incredibly popular in those places as well.
Disc golf, it's gonna be big.
There you go. That's it's a Disney reference, I think.
It is, yeah.
Oh, indoor plumbing. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's Hercules.
The U.S. Distance Championship was hosted in Rock Hill, South Carolina at Winthrop University. Ella Hansen won the FPO division with a max throw of 552 feet. And David Wiggins is the reigning champ this year with a throw of 698 feet. His maximum arm speed during his throws was 84 miles per hour.
Arm speed?
So that's release speed of the disc, basically. That's the speed it comes out of his hand.
Jesus.
And his actual max distance throw was only 78 miles per hour, which just goes to show you that it's a combination of speed and your line that really makes the distance.
It's very true. I mean, obviously, Major League Baseball pitchers can get higher arm speed overall, but it's a different projectile, and also so much of it is release angle and just pitch of the projectile when it comes to disc golf. So, very interesting. I know people have done physics breakdowns of disc throwing. It'd be very interesting to see other professional athletes. If you took top athletes in major league sports and had them throw discs, what they could do. I'd be very curious.
I bet you could have a weird mix of people who actually threw crazy far, and then people who you'd expect to throw far who just they don't have the mechanics for it right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think about YouTube recommends all kinds of crazy shit because I watch weird stuff. And I get recommended, for example, golf professionals and mixed with just celebrities, athletes. And so I get recommendations of the top 20 athletes' golf shots, and then the top 5 are all just it's Tom Brady playing golf and stuff. And it does make you wonder, if these pro athletes in other sports did tried and applied all their efforts to a different sport, how far they could go. I feel like, not to put anything down on pro disc golf players, but if the top athletes from other sports wanted to optimize for disc golf, I bet they would just crush pro disc golf players.
I'm sure. I agree with you. I mean, and I think that's something we're going to see, hopefully, throughout our lifetime. There are kids who are playing disc golf now at the age of 6, 7, 8, and who are practicing form and who are throwing the disc further than you and I. And so,
right.
there are people who are getting into it at that level and pushing their limits and trying to get to that kind of point. So,
right.
Maybe we will see some freak athlete in our time who's just hucking discs out there.
I think it's totally possible.
Yeah. I think one of the other interesting things about the distance championship, if you watch the different people throw, there is something to be said for everybody's got their own style, right? Garrett Gurthie is known for throwing really far, but he doesn't have the same release speed that pretty much everybody else out there does. He's all about throwing it high and having a good full line to get the full flight out of the disc. He's maxing distance by maximizing his lines. Whereas then you've got guys like Wiggins who are throwing it 84 miles per hour and just absolutely jetting that disc out in front of you.
Right.
So it's interesting, guys. You're not all hope is lost if you can't throw 78 miles per hour.
Thank Christ.
All right. So I've got one last thing I want to talk about. How familiar are you with Drew Gibson?
And not that familiar.
Okay, this is perfect. You don't really have an image of him painted in your mind, right?
No.
Wonderful. So we talked about Simon and his announcement. And I don't really know if we touched on this at all, but there was a few kind of leaks that came out prior to him being able to make his own announcement. And Drew Gibson was one of these people. He actually tweeted the day before and said, Lizotte announcement incoming tomorrow. So he didn't actually say anything, but he told everybody that there's going to be a Lizotte announcement tomorrow. And I believe this was before it was announced that he was leaving Discmania. So it was before anything was really out there. So you can kind of assume that that's what's probably going to happen, right?
It's not going to be an announcement. I'm sticking with Discmania.
Right. Well, probably not. And that's not what it was. So Drew did this. And so in one of Simon's videos, I think I can't remember if it was the Discmania leaving video or if it was the first MVP video, but he mentions, I think the actual words he said were leaky leakers. He kind of basically saying he wanted to be the one to say it. He was a little disappointed in that. So how does Drew Gibson respond? Drew releases a Leaky Leakers sweatshirt on his merch site that's like a smiley face that's melting, and is basically just kind of directly shoving it in Simon's face, right? So I don't think Simon's had any response to that. I don't think he cares. I think he's beyond it. He's past it, which good. I think he should be. So then, sometime later, Drew Gibson tweets this. Who's excited for the 2023 season? Simon to MVP, AB to Discraft, Macbeth to Euro Tour, Brody coming into his own, Gannon to Discmania, Finish Line Discs dropping 4 molds. I'm thinking 2023 is going to be the most competitive and insane year for the sport yet. Hashtag this is the internet. So,
all right.
I read you a bunch of words there.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of, I don't know, like he's making fun of something when you read it, in my opinion. But there's a line in there that says Gannon to Discmania, which is either him being a troll and making stuff up, or it's him, again, leaking that Gannon Burr or Missy Gannon or someone with the name Gannon is going to Discmania. So I've told you a few things that Drew Gibson has done in recent history, and I guess I'm just curious what your thoughts are about this behavior in general and how Drew Gibson is, I guess, as a liaison for the sport, if you will.
I have various thoughts. On the one hand, I tend to like the players in all sports that I enjoy. I like classy players, I like the players who don't showboat. I like the players who just get the job done, and they're just all business. That goes for, athletic sports. That goes for esports. I love that. On the flip side, I can hear the voice of Brody Smith in the back of my head being like, this is good for the sport overall to have this sort of person stirring the pot and dredging up the drama and making the stories. That's good for the sport overall. So I guess my overall take would be, although it's not for me, it doesn't make me like Drew Gibson. I think it's fine overall, and he hasn't done anything bad. So, I'm pretty neutral on it, and I guess it's good for the sport. So not for me personally, but okay.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums up my thoughts too. I don't like Drew. I think if Drew and I met, I don't think we would get along super well.
Yeah.
But he hasn't been, he hasn't actually done anything here that's...
He's not a Nico.
Yeah, exactly. He hasn't done a specific thing here that's been it's things where I'm like, come on, dude. I wouldn't do that that seems shitty to me. But it's not going beyond that line, basically. So
Right.
I agree. I think it is exposure. I think it's him also, trying to use other people's platforms and other people's subscriber base to just tap into that, and I can't really fault him for trying that.
You'd rather be the Simon in this equation.
Exactly.
You'd rather be the guy who's like, I am the person with the clout, and you are trying to leech onto it and get some of it out of me.
Exactly. Yep. And that's what has kind of come out of this, mostly from what I've seen in people commenting on the internet, is like he's chasing clout in what he's doing. Again, can't necessarily blame him.
No. It's fine. You're not going to win me over with it, but more power to you.
Right. Yep. All right. Well, that was your 8:15 news blast. All right. That was what I've got for headlines. Are you ready to play some Birdie, Bogey, or Par?
I am always ready, my friend. This is Birdie, Bogey, or Par.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Birdie, Bogey, or Par. Just as a quick refresher for our audience, in case you're new, I'm going to show Kenny some stuff. And each of the stuff that I show him, each of the things I show him, he's going to give it a birdie or a bogey or a par based on his own totally subjective judgment. Right?
Totally subjective, but also final and incontrovertible.
That's right. If you disagree, too bad.
Fuck you.
All right. So I put a very specific one on here, and I'll ask you that first. The song White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane turned into some spooky, slow, soft, weird theme music for the show 1899.
I haven't listened to the spooky theme music for the show.
But you sound intrigued.
I am intrigued. For a fact, I love White Rabbit, and it's one of our theme songs for playing Bloodborne. We listened to it on repeat when we were trying to beat the watchdog of the Old Lords, the worst boss of all time.
Don't you say his name!
And it pulled us through, so I like that song, and I could totally buy a spooky version of it. I mean, it's a creepy, weird song in general, so I buy it. I give this sight unseen, song unheard. I'd give it a birdie.
Good. All right, birdie. I like that. So then let me ask you this. In general, this kind of trope that exists now of taking some popular song and like slowing it down and making a new version of it as like your theme music or as like your trailer music. How do you feel about that?
The general trend is definitely a bogey.
All right.
I think you have to pick your spots and find good versions to do. What did I just listen to today? I just heard a theme song that was along these lines. I was because I was at Mom and Dad's watching the NFL championships yesterday, and I got a big mouthful of advertisements. I think it was the Shazam trailer. And it was some like hip hop. No, it was started from the bottom. Now we're here. That was like slowed down and made to be epic. And I was just like, puke. This is so bad. Like that's the worst version of it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the overall trend I would give a bogey, but I can buy this version of it.
We'll have to listen to it and see what you think after.
Okay. I like I said, unheard. I would give it a birdie.
I like it. I watched this show recently, and I agree with you. It has a time and place. And I remember when I watched Westworld season 1, they have a player piano throughout that plays songs on its own, and they do these like player piano compositions of like Radiohead songs or just other, and they were really well selected songs and really well composed for the piano, and they fit really well with like the episodes and what was happening. So that was awesome. And that was also like the first I was kind of exposed to it, so it was new. And I feel like it's been overused at this point where you see it, like, it just makes me think of like Zack Snyder trailers, and it makes me want to barf.
Exactly. That's what the Shazam trailer was making me think of. It's like, okay.
All right, on to the next one. Disc golf player logos.
Ugh. In general?
Yeah, I decided to just give you a pile of them because I've actually reviewed a lot of them recently. I forget why I stumbled onto. There's a lot more than I realized. Yeah.
Wow, you've chosen an image of all of them in black and white, and if you showed me any one of them, I think I'd be like, okay. But seeing them all in a pile together, God, they're all so samey. That's a bogey for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think in general it's a good idea as a player to have your own brand, but the message that I'm seeing from this image is you need to find something to make you unique.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, the two that stand out to me from looking at this, Nico stands out. Like, it's Nico's name, which makes it stand out from this just bland, like, basically everyone takes their initials and turns them into a little typographical logo.
Mm-hmm.
And then, who is this? At the bottom right, there's a face logo. Who is that?
I don't even know.
It's a person's face, and that stands out so much against all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, this is a bogey.
I tend to agree. It is funny, like, I kind of like Nico's symbol, even though I really don't like the guy.
Yeah, totally.
And I think, like you said, part of it is just that it is so not the same as the rest of these. Like, I feel the same about the Sake Bomb, honestly. When I look at Sake Bomb versus all the rest of these, and I really don't care for Ricky's stuff, but, like, yeah, it's a mash of letters piled on top of each other, basically.
Yeah. I like Brody. This is my Brody bias coming through yet again. I like the dark horse like logo. Not because the logo is good, but I just like the name Dark Horse. Mm-hmm. Like, I am the Dark Horse, I am the underdog, I am the person who's going to come through. But his logo is no good either.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you've got some that I think are supposed to be letters, but you can't even really discern what the hell they are. Yeah, it's all over the place, man.
Yuck.
All right. An Eagles versus Chiefs Super Bowl. You mentioned you watched the championship football games yesterday. The Philadelphia Eagles won, as did the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, they were both
less handily.
They were both not great games, in my opinion.
The Kansas City Bengals game was pretty fun to watch. I was kind of hoping for some overtime championship stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I get what you're saying, that game wasn't that great either because it was so injury driven.
Mm-hmm.
This Super Bowl, I'm not that keen on because I think the Eagles are just going to run rampant over the Chiefs, especially with all the injuries that the Chiefs are dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not that hyped about it. So going into this Super Bowl, I give it a par just because the Super Bowl is just a chance to hang out with you and Veronica. So that's always going to be good. But the game itself, I'm not that hyped about.
Yep, I don't
know. How do you feel about it?
I would agree. So both games yesterday, the San Francisco 49ers played the Philadelphia Eagles, and so the San Francisco 49ers already had their third string quarterback in, and he's been playing lights out for the past like 6-7 games. But he got injured on like the fourth play of the game and couldn't throw the football. He's got a torn, I think, ulnar nerve, or whatever that big nerve in your arm is, basically. So he couldn't even grip a football after he got that injury. So they were just totally, they were like one-legged out there. You know, they couldn't throw the football at all, and they just couldn't do much of anything. So, and the Eagles are a great team. Like it's not like I don't think they don't deserve to be there. It just.
Sure.
You don't have any sort of sense of this team went out and earned it, kind of, if that makes sense. And then, the Kansas City game, I don't know. Kansas City's been there, and like they've been so good that it's hard for me to get excited about them being in the Super Bowl. So,
I agree. I think the only thing that makes the Super Bowl exciting is if Mahomes can get the win on like a shaky ankle.
Yeah.
that's a fun story. Like, he battles through and manages to get the win. I think that's pretty exciting. But overall, I mean, if I had to put money on it, the Eagles are going to win. They're going to win big.
Well, can't wait to find out. All right, The Last of Us television adaptation of the video game. Now, I don't think that you've actually watched this, and I don't know if you've read any reviews or have heard anything of it.
I have not watched it. I have not played the game. I have heard whispers of what people think of it, one way or another. But you want my opinion on it.
I do.
I'm going to give this a birdie.
Good, Birdie.
This is another sight unseen birdie. I think that we are in a world where there are lots of video games where story comes first, that are primed and ready to be made into television shows or movies. The Last of Us is a perfect example. I would say another one that is primed and ready to go is Dragon Age. You can make a fantasy series or film series based on Dragon Age. You can make a Mass Effect show or series or like movie. Like, these are all they're all story first. They're annoying to me because I don't care about the gameplay of these games, and they're like begging to be made into shows. So I think Last of Us is a perfect choice to take a video game and turn it into a TV show. And I like the cast. I think this is great.
Yeah. So I have played the game, and so the third episode came out last night. We have not watched it yet, but I saw some articles and reviews. I didn't actually read any of the text in them, but they were basically talking about how this was like, this is possibly one of the best episodes of television this year. You know, they're already talking about that.
Right.
The first two episodes were awesome, and I haven't played the game in years at this point, but you can just tell the care they're taking with making some of these iconic shots from the game in the show, and like actually staying true to that material and making the small changes they need to make it fit better on a television show. So it's been awesome so far. I'm excited to keep watching it, and I'm happy that this can help break the trend of video games being shitty movies and shitty television shows, because that just seems to be how it's done so far.
I think that is breaking right now, because like right now there are news articles like Last of Us is finally breaking the barrier of video games to TV or video games to movies, and it's like there's already like a good handful of examples that have done that. We talked about Arcane. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's happening already, so I think it's a good thing to see more and more of this. Eventually it's going to be like, what are you talking about? Like, breaking the wall. Like, it's already happened, son.
Mm-hmm. Heck yeah. Taco Bell's chicken wings. Did you know Taco Bell sells chicken wings?
I did not know that. I know Pizza Hut sells chicken wings with Wing Street. I didn't know Taco Bell sold chicken wings. I assume this is something you've explored recently?
So this is a limited time offer. This is something that apparently they bring around, I don't know, Super Bowl time. I don't know if it happens every year or not. It's like...
Or is this a brand new thing?
It might be brand new. I don't 100% know. Taco Bell's selling chicken wings. I think you get 5 of them for $8 or something like that.
Oh.
And yeah, they're chicken wings. What do you think about that?
I'm going to give that a bogey.
It's Taco Bell, not Chicken Wing Bell. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I know you like Taco Bell's breakfast stuff, don't you?
Well, I mean, I like a breakfast crunch wrap because it's eggs, hash brown, cheese, bacon in a tortilla. Like that, yeah, that's good, and I haven't had it in years. I don't know if it's reasonably priced or not, but if it is, then I'm totally fine with it.
I mean, let it be known, I am not against Taco Bell. I love Taco Bell. Mm-hmm. I have been to Taco Bell. I will be at Taco Bell again in the future. But if I'm going to go to a shitty fast food restaurant, I want to go to the shitty fast food restaurant that does the thing that I want. So I'm going to go to B-Dubs if I want some crappy wings. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And this price point, I think you could just get better wings at Buffalo Wild Wings. So I think I would just do that. Also, I would say our classic buffalo chicken dip that we will have again for the Super Bowl is just a perfect dish, is easy to make, and is relatively cheap. And I would rather have it than this.
That sounds like a hard bogey to me.
Yeah.
So they are selling this in like a game day box too. It's like 4 hard shell tacos, a Mexican pizza, and 5 wings or something like that. And it actually,
I'm not saying I wouldn't eat the shit out of it.
Well, so this box costs $2 more than if you bought all the individual items, which is hilarious. I saw somebody who was reviewing it online. They're like, "I'm doing this just so you don't have to. This is $2 more expensive than if you buy this all individually. Don't buy this stupid box."
Wow. Again, I would still eat it. I would enjoy it, I'm sure, if you gave me these wings.
But I ain't paying for it.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, that segues us into our final. The classic Americanized taco. You know, seasoned ground beef, some cheese, some refried beans, maybe some lettuce and tomato on there if you're feeling, a little wild.
Being that I ate this for dinner tonight, I have no choice but to give this a birdie. The only difference I had in this dish is that instead of ground beef, I had ground turkey.
Yeah,
but
okay. That's the I would say that's the 2020s version of this, right? As people are moving on to the healthier turkey.
Even more Americanized than it was before, to be honest.
No, I have to agree with the birdie. I don't care if it's not authentic. It's a freaking delicious and easy meal, and I love it.
Yeah, and I respect someone who says that's not really a taco. It's not authentic. Yes, I agree. This is not its own thing, and you know what? I love it to death, and it's one of my favorite foods, if not my favorite food. So
probably had it once a week,
too bad.
At least since I was like 6 years old. So
definitely.
Well, Kenny, thank you as always for spending some time to hang with me and talk about stuff we like talking about. I had a great night.
It's my goddamn pleasure.
And you know what? I have to say safe travels, right? You're going to hit the road for like the next 5 or 6 days.
That's true.
Road trip.
Traveling up north, going to Detroit, going to Toronto.
Man, well, I hope that your journey is lovely. You should listen to all of our episodes with Amber on the way.
I will do that. She'll definitely listen to the bits that she's featured in.
Well, everybody, thank you for listening. I am Matt. This is my co-host, Kenny. Say farewell.
Farewell.
We love you, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.